I'm Nathalia Rodriguez, and this is my Humanities Midterm project. The word Renaissance is known to mean rebirth. This word fit perfectly for the period in time where there was a rebirth of classical culture and art called the Renaissance era. The Renaissance era started to reach Italy in the 14th century and lasted until the 16th century. You can see the huge inspiration that the Renaissance took from the ancient Greeks and Romans art with the high importance of proportion in the human figure and the use of nudity. Two artists that represented much of this inspiration of Greek-Roman art were Sandro Botticelli and Masaccio. Sandro Botticelli was born as Alessandro da Maraglione on March 1, 1445. It is most recognized that he is called Botticelli because it was a nickname that came from his older brother. In his young life, Botticelli worked as an apprentice for Filippo Lippi, who became one of his inspirations. In 1470, he owned a workshop where he made portraits of important families like the Medici. As time went on, Botticelli was starting to become known as one of the more famous Florentine painters of the early Renaissance era. Some of his most popular works of art are La Primavera, The Birth of Venus, and Portrait of a Young Woman. Several of his paintings show Venus, who is known as the goddess of love. This figure and his paintings are similar to how the ideal beauty type was represented in ancient Greek art. You can see this with the Aphrodite of Cnidus statue and the Birth of Venus painting. Both works of art show nudity in a modest way, with both figures covering their genitals with their hand. They have a similar feminine posture along with perfect human proportions. Attention to detail is another big similarity between these works of art. Masaccio, whose original name was Tommaso de Giovanni, was another famous Florentine painter that was born on December 21st of 1401. There was no official documentation for how he learned to paint in his early life, but it is thought that he might have been taught by a painter who lived near him. Masaccio is known for creating the atmospheric perspective. This is used in paintings by making an illusion of blurriness in objects that are supposed to be distant. Masaccio used the atmospheric perspective along with shadows and light in his paintings to create a lifelike look. Some of his most famous paintings that use these techniques are The Tribute of Money, Holy Trinity, and Expulsion from the Garden of Eden. You can also see how he was inspired by Filippo Brunelleschi architecture in his Holy Trinity. The building in this painting has similarity to those of ancient Roman columns and arches. Religious seems to have always been influential to art. You can see this in different periods of life with works of art such as The Snake Goddess, Last Supper, Christ as the Good Shepherd, and Visitation. Pieces of art like these can give good ideas and clues to the belief system and values of the past. Religion has given almost every society a sense of meaning and purpose. This is why societies used art to give representation and life to their religious values. Christianity and Catholicism are probably one of the most well-represented religions in art. The Renaissance era has some of the most important works of art that show the portrayal of these two religions. During the Renaissance era, humanism became one of the bigger belief systems. Humanism was made to stay away from the medieval Christian values. This made a huge change from the old way of thinking that humans are just sinners to thinking that humans are God's most important creation and have high value. Botticelli and Masaccio show this way of new belief in their paintings. With both of their art being so realistic with religious themes, the viewers could almost feel the emotions of the figures. Masaccio's Holy Trinity shows Jesus Christ nailed on the cross with God standing behind him. This painting is a portrayal of the story told in the Bible of Christ's crucifixion. Botticelli used religion in a unique way by mixing Christian and classical mythology symbols. This can be seen in his La Primavera. Venus, the goddess of love, is represented as the Virgin Mary, Cupid ready to strike his arrows above her. There are trees full of oranges in the background that are seen to represent the Medici family. There are also other gods and goddesses on the scene. The Renaissance gave us some of the most symbolic works of art and went back to a classical way of belief.